Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 5 Star Revolution podcast for another great episode. If you haven't so already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, 5 Star Revolution Podcast. Share and like our Facebook page, 5 Star Revolution Podcast. I'm still giving away a $100 Visa gift card if we reach 1,000 likes by the end of this year. So get to it. Tonight, we have a very special guest, and his name is Saturn Price. And ladies and gentlemen, we are not related.
I had that same conversation with a established guy out in Michigan. His name is Jack Price. I get there and they're like, "Jack Price, are you his little brother?" I'm like, "No, no, we don't even know each other." Then finally we did meet each other. Like, Price, yo, it's all right. We're all extended family out here.
I agree. Wrestling is a huge extended family. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight on the 5 Star Revolution podcast. And I ask this question to every single wrestler that comes on my podcast because I like to know is how you got into the world of professional wrestling. Like, did you grow up as a fan? Did you get onto it on in your life? What's going on?
So it's weird because I don't remember when it happened. Um, the first memory I have of wrestling was like being three and watching probably Raw in like 2000 or something. But it's just something that's always been in my life one way or another. Like, I have video cassettes that my mom got at like Goodwill or something of Starcade 98 and Sold Out 99 I used to watch like on loop all the time. So I don't know when like I started liking it. I just know that I've always gravitated towards it. Uh, yeah, if I had to take a guess, 99, 2000, when I was about two or three, sounds about right, because I had the original SmackDown game. I had a Best of Raw 2000. So yeah, it's just something that's always been in my life. I can't think of a time when I haven't enjoyed professional wrestling.
So you missed the whole Attitude Era, man.
It's not my fault. I was like three. Like, my first like memories were of like Brock Lesnar debuting and Jeff Hardy creaming him with a steel chair.
I do remember that. That was Brock Lesnar's debut on Raw. I remember that. Um,
So
so
it's not that I missed it. It's just that, you know, I was still learning how to walk and talk and not like piss my pants.
so who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Oh, definitely Jeff Hardy. Um, he was one of the people in the video games that I gravitated towards. Um, I don't remember what it was. He just had like this style to him, and then watching him live, like my favorite match of all time is probably him and Undertaker's ladder match on Raw. It's something about him is just like, obviously it influences me. Um, he's very magnetic, you know.
I've met Jeff Hardy twice. I had the pleasure of meeting him twice before some WWE shows. Great guy, great guy to talk to, and he was a very nice guy. So I hope you get the pleasure to meet him someday.
I actually did meet him when I was about 16. Devon Dudley ran a like breast cancer charity show uh, in my town in Florida, and I got my dad to take me, and he like shelled out the extra like $100 for the meet and greets, and I have a picture of him that he signed uh, of us together. And it's just awkward 16-year-old me just losing my mind internally, and my dad having to do all the talking for me because I just couldn't enunciate any words other than "You're Jeff Hardy. You were you're cool, dude."
So what made you get into the wrestling business? What made you want to become a wrestler?
I think like every kid who's into wrestling had their own backyard fed, and I was the same. I was like 7, and we were obviously didn't know what we were doing. But we were all like, wow, wrestling's great. When we're older, we're all going to be professional wrestlers. And I'm the only one who's like, I thought we were going to be professional wrestlers, guys. What happened? They're like, no, that's lame. We want to go do other stuff. Like, fine, go be a lawyer and a doctor and make all your money. But yeah, it's like I said, because it's always been in my life, it's just something that I was like, probably like 7, where I was like, I need to do this for a living. I need to do this somewhere, like for the rest of my life. And then it was listening to Brian Alvarez's podcast on the Wrestling Observer, where Lance Storm had like just shut down his academy. He'd like been running it for like 15 years. He's like, it's time to, call it. And Alvarez said, if you are out there and you keep coming up with excuses like, oh, I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, or whatever, he's like, you got to stop making up excuses and just, do it. Because schools like Lance Storm, they're not going to be around forever. And I'm like, damn, dude, he's right. Like, I've been talking about it. I need to actually like do it. And I found a school in my town 2 years ago, and that's when I finally was able to be like, all right, this is sick, dude. I'm actually gonna be a professional wrestler.
So when you went to wrestling school for the first few times, did you expect it to hurt? Do you expect it to be so hard?
I mean, I expected the physical pain. Um, I'm not gonna say it was like emotional pain, but it was like, especially like 3 or 4 months in, where you've learned like the very very basic stuff of professional wrestling, where it's like starting to put things together at this point, finding a character, really like figuring out what you're going to do, and like having this pressure on you. The physical stuff, like it hurts for like a couple of days, but you learn to tuck your chin so you don't concuss yourself a second time. uh, you take you take 30 chops, eventually 31 is like, doesn't really feel it anymore. But it's like just this pressure that's like, man. I remember like started training in like July, and by the time we got to December, I was like, man, having dreams is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to get out of bed. Like it's very difficult, and I've watched like there's probably 15 people in my class, only 2 of us made it through. It's a very it's very hard on you emotionally. It's very painful that way. It's like it's not easy. And however hard you think it is, it's about 25 times harder than that. Um, so yeah, like I wasn't ready for that, but I kept, pushing my way through. And I'm glad I did. I'm so glad I got through it. And it's hard. It's still hard, but you kind of gotta push through it. And I'm so happy I did.
So what motivates you to keep going? What motivates you to keep wrestling?
Well, now that I'm trained and am taking bookings, it's just the motivation is to, one, get better, two, to just wrestle in front of as many people as possible. Um, like three, it's just the actual wrestling part. It's so fun. It's so fun to travel. I've made so many friends in the business. Um, I've like gained this confidence I did not have before. So what's motivating me now is to just keep going. It's a lot of fun, and with every match, I can feel myself improving. Um, so I don't know, it's hard to describe now, but it's just having fun and the yearning to violently throw myself on the floor.
Okay. So for those people who don't know who Saturn Price is or what he's about, can you explain a little bit about your character?
So my character is that of a punk, obviously. Um, like I said with Jeff Hardy, it's just the stuff that I gravitate to in my everyday life. I've associated with wrestling. I've got horror movie patches. I've got punk band and metal band patches. Um, I got my favorite button that says "I came, I saw, I made it awkward" because I'm a very awkward human being. Uh, so Saturn Price is just my weird self still trying to like figure his way out in the world. Um, just turned up to like 11. Um, just a guy who loves wrestling, and I want to have as much fun as possible. And it's more fun than a mosh pit or a punk rock show, you know. Um, so yeah, my character is just that of a guy who's out to have fun. And what's more fun than kicking people in the head and getting paid for it and not going to jail for it?
I agree, man. I used to be a wrestler myself, and a lot of stress. It was a stress reliever for sure to get in the ring and suplex people, chop people, punch people in the face, and not get in trouble for it. It was fun.
And it's there's also this weird like catharsis when like you get hit too. Like you get hit with a good one, you're like, yeah, I'm feeling this right now, you know?
So, what's going through your head before a match? What's going through your head before you step a foot through that curtain?
God, I have to pee. Because no matter how many times you pee before the match, you can pee in like 10 times that hour right before you go out. It's like, God damn, I gotta go right now. You know, once you get out through that curtain, you know, you completely forget about it. But it's at that moment, it's like, I need to take a piss so bad right now.
I totally agree, man. I used to get that feeling too. I have no idea why. A lot of wrestlers do.
If you ask, like, even my trainers, they're like, it's the same thing Stone Cold said, where, like, if you don't get those butterflies in your stomach, then you're doing something wrong. If it's not butterflies, it's the sense of, I'm going to pee my pants.
So you said that you're out of the Florida region, correct?
Yeah.
So that everybody knows that that's the epicenter of pro wrestling. How does it feel to be a part of a state where there's a lot of wrestling going on and a lot of trainers, a lot of schools, and the WWE Performance Centers in Florida? So how do you feel about that?
It'd be cool if I was there. No, so I lived in Florida with my dad throughout some of middle and high school. And I kind of accidentally moved back in with my mom here in Ohio. It's the central Ohio area after I graduated. So I would love to wrestle in Florida. I've been into contact with some of the promoters there. Obviously, it'd be great to, wrestle in front of my family. And yeah, you're right. Pardon me, Florida is definitely a hotbed of professional wrestling that I want to get to. But right now, I'm in the Midwest area in Ohio, um, and there's small hotbeds around here too. Obviously, you got like Cleveland and Cincinnati and Dayton, um, and there's lots of great schools around here too. There's so much professional wrestling just in America that I wish more people knew about. I've been on shows that were like, yeah. I've also been on shows where it's like, my God, some of the people here are just absolutely amazing. And I don't know, the Midwest is slept on, in my opinion, for professional wrestling. But yeah, Florida is one of the goals in at least the next year for me. I definitely want to get down there. Um, I know some people at my school have like done some post graduation training for like Devon at Team 3D Academy. And I feel like that's somewhere that I'd also like to be too, you know? Um,
So Since you started wrestling, would you say life has changed personally? If so, how?
A lot more stress, um, a lot more car issues. Uh, like personally, like I said, I've gained a lot more confidence about myself that I think the people who knew me before have seen. Like my stepsister was messaging me like a couple weeks ago, and she said, "What happened? You used to be a nerd who hid in his room and just read comic books and played video games. What are you doing now? You're going out there and you're interacting with people. It's so weird." I'm like, yeah, it is. In hindsight, it's crazy. Um, yeah, like I don't know, I've become happier in my life. I've made a lot of friends. Um, there's also a lot of stress, like all the early mornings. I used to go out to New Jersey for some shows, and I'd have to be up at like 2 in the morning to make it out there by 7, and then get back here for work the next day. Um, I've been through two cars. The car I just bought in February, I've already put a couple 100,000 miles on it, and I need a new one because this one is. I don't know how it still gets me to shows, but sometimes it does. Um, dude, so all right, so back in February, like the radiator just went out on me. I had no idea. And it was also I was in Michigan, so it was probably like -5 degrees. So the battery decided to go out too, or just get real cold. And I broke down in the middle of the road, like perpendicular to all of the traffic. And a cop pulls up. He's like, "Hey, you got to get out of the road." I'm like, yeah, no. I just thought, it'd be a good idea to park my car here in the middle of the road and just obstruct traffic. I obviously did this on purpose, man. He's like, well, you got to move the car you drove for. I'm like, you're a great dude, honestly. Cops, you're great. Um, yeah, so it's added a lot of stress to my life, but it's also added a lot of joy to my personal life, too.
What can we expect out of Saturn Price in the next 3 years?
3 years. Hopefully, no major injuries, only minor ones. In the next 3 years, let's see here. In just the year that I've been wrestling, I've wrestled in 9 states. So the next 3 years, I'm hoping to make it at least 20 states and possibly Canada. There was a guy who I was talking to while I was training. He said, "Whenever you want, dude, when you're cleared, get your passport, and I'll bring you to a show in Canada." I'm like, hell yeah. Next 3 years, international superstar Saturn Price. Um, I hope to be a lot better in the ring. Like, I've picked up a lot in the last year, and just traveling anywhere and everywhere has really helped in that. But obviously, I'm still very new. So, in the next 3 years, I hope to be a bit more seasoned, to really know my way around matches, and to have built up a fan base, because I've got small, people know me here and there, but it's like all of this land in between where I still come out and people are like, who the hell is that guy? Um, so I also hope in the next 3 years to expand, uh, I guess, my image so that more people know who Saturn Price is. Um, and like I said, I hope in 3 years that I just become a better professional wrestler because I feel like that is probably one of my main goals, like more so than making money or being on television, is to walk into a show and people say that's Saturn Price. He's gonna have one of the best matches, if not the best match on this show. I want people to pay to see me because they know I'm going to entertain them. So I think that's probably my goals for the next 3 years, most definitely.
So, besides wanting to sign with WWE, Impact, AEW, Is there any independent promotions that you have your eye on that you want to debut at?
Dude, PWG. Like, when I discovered them when I was like 13, I was like, oh my god, this is the best professional wrestling in the world. Like, most definitely PWG, and maybe also either Impact or Ring of Honor, because they both also like played a very, very crucial part in shaping how I look at professional wrestling throughout high school. Because before I got my own laptop in like freshman year, I just really knew of WWE. Like, I knew of other places. I was able to watch Impact on Spike, but like Ring of Honor was still like this mythical thing that I only saw in like PWI magazines. Like, there was this wrestling in Japan and Mexico. Like, that must be crazy, but it's not WWE, so it must not be good. But then when I like started exposing myself to it, I'm like, oh my god, dude, the Briscoes going absolutely crazy. Adam Cole, Kevin Steen, especially Kevin Steen, dude. Like, his Ring of Honor run from his team with Generico to his team with Jimmy Jacobs and was it BJ Whitmer? No, it was Steve Carino. It was Steve Carino, Kevin Steen. Oh my god, and Chris Hero. I could just keep gushing about the independent wrestling that I love, but PWG, Impact, and Ring of Honor are definitely the places that I hope to wrestle for one day, just because they really expanded my horizons. They showed me what professional wrestling could be, like all of these different styles, and they're just obviously they have the name value, but those promotions are just so fantastic. I'd love to be associated with them one day.
If there's one thing that you learn in professional wrestling that you carry on in your personal life, what would it be?
Probably that. Probably two things. The first thing would be um, putting in the hard work pays off. Like I said while I was training, like the thing that eventually motivated me to get out of bed those mornings was I already put 1,200 into this, dude. You can't just back out now. You got to keep going, and that's what would eventually like drag me out of bed. But just putting in the hard work, um, people will notice like the effort that you put into it too. People will see like what you are doing, and they'll see your progress, and they'll like for having like not quite my trainers yet, but like the vets at my school say, I see what you've done and I'm proud of you is such a huge thing for me. And it's because I've put in the miles, I've put in the hours, I've taken all kinds of bumps. I still have more bumps to take. It's just putting in the hard work has shown awesome results for me. Um, so that's one. And the second is just be obviously be a good person. That doesn't sound like too hard, but for some people it is. But like just being a good dude, got me into some places in professional wrestling. Like while I was doing security work out in Dayton, one of the dudes there, he dislocated his shoulder, like real bad. And I took him to the hospital. I sat with him. Uh, he got they doped him up. He started talking real crazy to all the nurses. Started talking about how great Joe Rogan was. I wanted to do TMT. Just a crazy night. And I took him back home, and he was very appreciative. He said, "I'll remember this." And then I had to bootleg it back home another 3 hours to get to work the next day. And he hasn't forgotten that. And he's helped me out a lot in my career. He's got me on shows in West Virginia. He's got me on shows here in Ohio. So, just be a good person, and not even for the reward of, it will work out for you in the end, but just because you'll make friendships with people and, you'll build up these loyalties. And it's wrestling is so much more fun when you could go to a locker room and you could be like, dude, I missed you, man. Let me catch you up on how crazy this last month has been. It's the camaraderie is so great, and it starts with just being a good dude to other people. Just be nice to people, man. It's hard for some people. I don't understand it, but just put in the hard work and just be a good person. To answer your question.
So, only 1 year in the business, you're still kind of new. How do you deal with backstage politics?
If it doesn't involve me, then I mind my own business. Um, like I've seen, it's so wrestling is political. That's why I said just be a good person. Because when you're friends with people, you can like say, "Hey, man, don't, don't get involved in that. Just come sit over here with me." I've been involved in like very minor, like backstage politics, and it's so frustrating and annoying. And it's always over the smallest things, like, "Oh, you're friends with this guy. I'm not friends with this guy." I have a friend who got into a bit of a small, like heated situation because he was in a vet spot in the locker room. You know, so it's when it comes to backstage politics, if it doesn't involve me, I stay out of it. If it involves my friends, I try to get them to just ignore it, just brush it off, man. Because if I'm at a show, I do not have time for all of that drama. Man, drama absolutely sucks.
I totally agree, man. When I used to be a wrestler, backstage politics were rampant. And I didn't enjoy it. Sometimes I got caught into it, and that's my mistake. But sometimes you can't help it because it involves you. When it involves you, you got to speak up, man. You can't just stay shut.
Yeah, no, if it involves me, then, sometimes you got to eat crow. Sometimes you got to be like, all right, yeah, it was my fault. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but it's like, let's move on. Let's get through this. It's fine. I'll pay my dues, but drama and it's always like the smallest shows, right?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
it's always like the places with like lunchbox locker rooms where it's like because everybody knows each other's like secrets, everyone knows each other's like they're able to get under each other's skin. It's just like, stop it. What are you doing? Cut it out, guys. Like you're all supposed to be friends. Why is any of this happening?
100% true. So, last question for me before I let you go, Mr. Price. Um, if you had one regret in the professional wrestling business, what would it be, and how would you change it?
One regret. Damn, probably not getting a better car. Or like for getting a car that's a lot easier to fix. Um, you know, like my biggest regret is not starting sooner because I wanted to start like immediately out of high school. I didn't start training until I was 21, either 21 or 22. It was 2019. Um, like I wanted to start immediately, like hit the ground running. And if I did, I would have been like 5 years in by now. But I've learned that wrestling takes a lot of money, and I was not. I would not. 18-year-old me was not financially ready for the burden that is professional wrestling. So it's a weird regret. Like I wanted to start sooner. Like I wanted to start in high school. Actually, I wanted to start so bad, but I'm glad that I didn't because obviously, even now I still struggle, but a couple years ago it would have been so much worse. But it kind of lingers with me because some of the friends I've made, um, I see them in like spots above me. It's because they're they're better than me or they've been around for a while. Like even if they're like just another year in, it's like, man, dude, I'm so envious of you right now. Like that could have been me if that was me a couple years ago. But I'm glad that I didn't start, but I wish I did. It's just, seeing your friends, like it's almost like a jealousy, but I'm not gonna be like, this guy really. But it's being envious of like the people that I surround myself with, where they get it more, like they get wrestling more than I do. It's the small intricacies. I'm like, I could also be that if I'd started sooner. You know, it's, it's the mechanics of wrestling that they understand that I don't yet. Yeah, that like frustrates me.
So where can fans find Mr. Saturn Price in the social media world?
You can find me on Facebook, Saturn Price. Both Twitter and Instagram is at Price Saturn because Twitter is stupid and decided to switch my name around and wouldn't let me fix it. So now I'm Price Saturn. Um, yeah, those are the only ones I'm using right now because I am very, as you have, as I've demonstrated to you, I am very uh, technologically stunted. It took way too long to get this Skype meeting set up because just everything broke. Um, yeah, right now, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram and Twitter, Price Saturn, Facebook, Saturn Price.
Well, thank you, Mr. Saturn Price, for joining us here tonight on the Five Star Revolution podcast. We hope that you share this video on your platform so everybody can see it. And for you listeners that are listening right now, join us on Facebook, Five Star Revolution Podcast. Like and share our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Five Star Revolution Podcast, for your chance to win a $100 Visa gift card. Thank you, Mr. Saturn Price, for joining us here tonight. We wish you the best of luck in your career.
Thank you very much, dude. Thank you for giving me the platform. And I wish you the best of luck with your podcast.
I appreciate it, man. You have a great night.
You as well, man.